afford it. I mean, there's just too many, things. The pot's only so full. And you got safety and public this and that and public in schools and everything, and you just can't. You've got to find ways of reducing that rubbish. So I think it was that we had no other choice but to go this route.
Okay, Maureen?
I think that's generally true in Rentham. We had to reduce our trash. The costs, just as in Attleboro, were going up, 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 and it was unsustainable, especially at the rate we're paying. We got locked into our contract because, like Attleboro, the landfill we were using for nothing closed. And bam, we had to, at the very worst possible moment to go sign a contract with CMAS, we got stuck doing that. But we considered paying for the first bag, but again, because people were so used to everything free, we knew we couldn't get away with that. So our only, the only option was to go as the way we did, because we just had to reduce trash and get recycling up.
Josh?
There are two ways to answer that. The first is, rather than tinker with the curbside trash pickup, what could we do instead? And we had discussions about an operating override, cuts to services, and the leadership of the town didn't want to do that. So it really became a question of then how do we want to deal with trash? And we explored things like setting up a transfer station or other things that we might do to try to manage the program. And we ultimately settled on the 2-bag, charging for every bag by 2 different bag sizes, because we felt it would provide the best choices of service to the entire community. A couple $100 of a flat fee was just a 1-year bridge program, and we never seriously considered doing that and then providing people a certain amount of service, because we have so many seniors in our community, for example, who would want just small bags. We knew we needed to offer that rather than the totes. That's really not.
Okay.
I don't think that's the question you were asking.
No. Okay. Keep the microphone, and then we'll work back. Once the pay-as-you-throw decision was made, what problems did you encounter in implementing the program? What sticks in your mind as being a hurdle you had to get over, and how did you solve them?
Well, I think our situation was unique because we did have that 1 year of that high cost. That was the $170 that we charged was more than almost any families would pay with a pay-as-you-throw. So the pay-as-you-throw became a personal cost control thing. So I think and we had the benefit of almost a year of education. So I think the biggest hurdle was education and the political challenge that I described in my opening remarks. The binding election on that, for the referendum question that was brought. We had more of that political struggle, but since that actually gave us the opportunity to educate people more, I think that helped to promote the acceptance. So I wouldn't have changed that if it was in my power to rewrite history, which it isn't.
Okay, Maureen?
Right.
Education clearly is the key, and because we started it in such a short time frame, we had to really keep working all through the initial months of implementation on education. We were fortunate because we got a DEP grant, and we were able to hire 2 interns. Rentham, by the way, has no paid staff for solid waste. Everything we do now is done by volunteers and has been from the beginning. But we were able to hire 2 interns for that first summer. And basically, they went door to door in some problem neighborhoods. We put door stickers, hangers on every door. People called, the interns went out to meet with them to deal with any problem that came up. And I think that really made a big difference in getting people over some of the hurdles that they faced. So I would recommend if you do something, try to get a couple of interns to help you.
Okay. And Mike, Jim?
We had a few problems. One of them we somewhat rectified by having a grant from DEP for a mailing. So we did a mass mailing to everybody in town that did not cost the city a dime. It was a grant, and basically spoke about the program and how it was going to go. In addition, we sat down with the service company, in this case Waste Management, to make sure that the drivers and everybody that was going to be out on the roads knew exactly what we expected from them and what we wanted to do. What we did is, for the first month, we just let it go. If there were no fines, there were no pushing, no police, solid waste police people. We just sort of let people sort of fit into it. Second month, we started pushing a little more. By the third month, it was the summer, because this thing started in July. We had interns in Attleboro. We've had them every year, anywhere from 3 to 4 college-age kids or high school graduates that the city takes in the solid waste program and work for us. That's paid by the user fee. We had these kids out and about all over the city, 7 hours a day, 5 days a week, talking to people. We also started, after about the third month, to start enforcing it. And the biggest problem we had was the 36-gallon. People were putting down 44-gallon, 64-gallon, 100-gallon, a monster thing that you could live in, and filling it up with trash. What we did was we made sure that the Waste Management would ticket these things saying, we'll take it this week, but you've got the barrel's too big, you can't use that barrel. A lot of hard time to convince people it's not how much trash is in the barrel, but the size itself. We do something like 28,000 pickups a week in Attleboro. We had to have something that was uniform and straight across the board. The drivers were trained to recognize a barrel oversized and tag it. They didn't fine them, but their rubbish wasn't picked up. Maybe the first time it was, but not the second time. What happened over a period of 4 to 8 months, all the problems went away. Everybody seemed to get it. So, but it's a little trying. We had some people to help us during the summers, and that was probably the biggest thing that we needed to do, was get them out there.
Thank you. Kathy, you're working with various communities. Any particular problems that you would summarize as to communities are likely to encounter when they implement pay-as-you-throw?
I would add to what's been mentioned, because those are all very important comments. If a community goes ahead with a program like this, whether it's waste reduction program or a straight pay-as-you-throw program, and you have an official bag for the overflow or an official bag for your trash in general, that requires development of a relationship with some stores to sell the bags, and selecting a bag vendor, and kind of getting a lot of that aligned up front with sufficient time so that people know where to buy bags, and so sufficient supplies of bags are in the stores in advance of the program start date, so that it minimizes any issues at the beginning of the program. Because there is some, people get a little nervous, I think, when there's a program change. It doesn't take very long to get used to it, but just with any kind of change whatsoever, whatever you can do in advance, and it's great because you can learn from experienced programs the lead time that you want to have in place to make sure that you have a relationship. These stores are actually providing a quasi-public service. They're selling a bag that's essentially a service for the community. It's not a product, it's a service. It's part of your trash service. So that's an important component of the program, certainly the education, and feedback to residents. So information in advance of the program, but also feedback in that first month or two, whether it be in the form of a sticker that's left behind, news articles, public meetings, anything that keeps the fire lit and helps respond to any questions people might have during that transition period.
Okay, thank you. We'd now like to open it up to the audience to ask questions. If you're interested in asking a question, please come down. That way we'll be able to get more questions into this next hour. Please give your name and be concise. We do have a timer in case anyone decides to be very enthusiastic. So you have 2 minutes, and our timer will take care.
I am Is this on?
Yeah, it probably just lifted up to your.
I am very enthusiastic, but I'm not going to talk a long time. First, I want to point out something I just noticed as I walked up. These recycling bumper stickers. If you haven't seen one, these are great. They turn any recycling bin into, or any barrel into a recycling bin. And they've been a huge help for me because I sometimes forget to do my recycling, and then it piles up, and I have 4 weeks of recycling, and I can turn, here we go, and I can turn a huge barrel into a recycling bin.
Yes, they're free, and there are many that you can
Okay,
pick up
but
tonight.
Here's my question. My question is, I'm Nick Lowell, Precinct 5. There's a big, clearly there's a big difference in the amount of garbage, trash, solid waste that's reduced. There's also an increase in recycling, but from the graphs, the amount that's reduced is a lot more than the amount that's increased in recycling. Where is that trash going? Is it just not being created, or is it like leaking out of the system some other way?
Who would like, up here would like to answer? Josh.
If I did not answer this question, then my son, who's a mathematics PhD student, would not talk to me. Well, you talk about two different bases. If a reduction of 1,000 tons from 10,000 is 10%, but if you were to 1,000-ton increase over 3,000 is going to be a larger number. But the reality is that people's habits change as well. So, and I think that some people buy fewer things that might normally need to be thrown out. So you wouldn't necessarily see a one-to-one transfer through the two. So, I mean, I wouldn't stress it. Most communities have seen larger reduction in waste than they've seen an increase in recycling. But it's trust me, it's not a problem. The main thing is to reduce your costs of the tonnage of trash.
Jim?
Yeah, I concur on that. And the other thing, too, is industry's gotten a little bit smarter about packaging and doing things, so they are somewhat reducing some of the solid waste, making things less bulky, less waste. But you're exactly right. In the 6 years that we've been having our bag barrel program, we reduced from 17,161 tons to 9,626 tons. That's a reduction of over 42% of solid waste in 6 years. Now you got to remember, people, that solid waste costs a lot of money to get rid of. So it dropped 42%. That's a tremendous cost to the savings to the city. But it is. It's a number of things. I'll tell you, people. I used to call it shrinkage. I didn't know what. I knew the problem because I could see it. I would say, why couldn't there be a direct translation? But there is not, and I don't have really all the answers. Maybe Kathy does. She's the expert.
Kathy?
Not all the answers, but just a few additions to that. My colleagues and I, and Janine's here as well, who's very much a data person for DEP, for her district. We look at the numbers very closely and the results of these programs. We see a certain percentage of the reduction in trash. We see an increase in recycling. We also see more composting. We see comprehensive programs like Jim's and the others here, but if you looked at the sheet out there that Jim left for Attleboro, look at all the other items that they take in Attleboro that gives residents access and opportunity to dispose of them properly and not need to put them in the trash. So we work with communities closely to encourage them, develop programs for reuse and recycling so that to the maximum extent, so that the need for trash capacity becomes as small as possible. And you also see communities like Attleboro and Rentham, when they went to pay-as-you-throw with their waste reduction programs, they're surrounded by other communities with pay-as-you-throw or fee programs. They were both getting dumped on, frankly. Attleboro had some waste that was coming into Attleboro that wasn't generated from their residents. Same thing was true for Rentham. I think it's fair to say that waste didn't come into the community anymore. So part of that reduction is also waste that's coming in that is no longer coming in.
Maureen, did you want to add to that?
No, I was going to say that we were the only town surrounded by all these fee-based or pay-as-you-throw towns. And we know for a fact, because we saw it happen, that people from those other towns would bring trash to Rentham. So eliminating that was a big saving. I think the other thing when we were doing all our recycling education is we promoted composting, we promoted buying less packaging, we promoted all of the things that would help reduce the total amount that people needed to get rid of anyway, as well as just increasing the recycling.
Okay, our next question.
Louise Socarides, Precinct 9. I have a question on how sturdy are these bags? I'm tired of picking up my neighbor's trash because the crows get into them. I'm a single household, and I probably will not be buying bags, but I don't want to be picking up my neighbor's bags because the crows are getting into them. Are they sturdy enough bags? Or are we still going to have trash all over the streets?
I think with the bags, it's your supplier, but there's a weight limit on these bags. And plastic bags expand. I mean, if you want to try to put 50 pounds of trash into a plastic bag, you can do it if you want to stomp on it and get it in there. Well, the heavier the bag, the less the ability the bag's going to break at some point. So I think we've got a 35-pound weight limit on bags. If you stay within that weight limit, you'll have less problems like that. But people that overstuff these things so they don't want to use a second bag, they overfill them and they'll break.
Josh?
Especially when you pick up a 50-pound bag. Yeah. Well,
Okay,
that's why
Josh?
barrels.
So I see like 10 people, and we have 40 minutes, so we'll try to average 4 minutes per. So here's.
Ma'am, please, if you'd hold on. Go ahead, Josh.
So here's the way that we address that. First, we tell people don't put out your trash the night before, because it doesn't matter how stuffed it is, animals will get into it right away. Secondly, if you do have a persistent problem, it's perfectly okay to put the bag inside a barrel. I mean, if you end up going with bags. I don't know what Falmouth will ultimately decide to do.
Right.
So, but yeah, just put the bag inside a barrel and makes it easy for everybody.
And if they crush boxes, it'll go into your trash a lot easier, too.
Well, you don't want to be crushing boxes. Those should get recycled. But
like cereal boxes and stuff like that. If you crush them
Okay.
down.
All right. Can we move to our next questioner? Thank you.
But she did ask a question that does come up, so
Yes.
I'm glad to hear.
Absolutely.
Joe Netto, Precinct 9. It seems from listening to you folks speak that education and educating the public on Mr. Lowell, you put this so low, is a problem. We have a problem in Falmouth, and I don't think that any of the towns, of the 3 towns that are represented here by the speakers, if you'd answer the first question, we're a large seasonal home community. Is Attleboro and Natick the same as Falmouth? What's your percentage of seasonal homes?
Well,
Okay. Josh?
we have very few, but I actually think it's a great solution for seasonal homes, because if you don't get a dump sticker when you rent, maybe your landlord does, but I know my friend with a rental house in West Falmouth would.
No, I'm
love
not
to
talking
be able
about
to-
rental homes. We have a large number of second homes in Falmouth, not rentals.
But I think it's a wonderful, if it's not your principal residence, but you can still participate in the program if you end up with bags that you could buy at, Shaw's or wherever, then it seems like it's not going to be an obstacle, but I could be misunderstanding part of your question, so I'll let.
Well,
Darren-
part of the question is trying to draw an analogy from the 3 speakers, and I appreciate you coming down to what the town of Falmouth's problems would be, and, or what we perceive as a problem. I'm glad to see that you all are in agreement that when you put the program in or try to do anything, that the public has to be educated. I think one thing we haven't done at all in anything that we do in solid waste is educate anyone in Falmouth.
What I wanted to
So-
add, in Attleboro, vacancies, so for 8 months a year, people aren't there, they get an abatement on their rubbish. So they're only paying for the months they're there. That's a problem, though, because you got people coming not only they're coming from out of state, they may even be coming from out of New England, get down the Cape. So they may have no recycling programs whatsoever. So they're sort of the ones that you really got to make a special effort to get educated and give them the information they need to recycle.
Thank you.
Okay, the next question, please.
Nancy Hayward, West Falmouth, Precinct 5. Do each of the three presenters have their trash go to landfills? And if not, where do they go? Where does it go?
Ours goes to CMAS.
All right.
All right.
I don't think people know what that is.
Okay.
Well,
It's an incinerator. It's
Yes.
burned. All our
In
trash
Falmouth,
is burned.
because they have a contract with CMAS, they know.
yes, it's CMAS is waste to
Okay.
energy, and that's
All
what I was
right.
interested in. knowing.
Attleboro has had a contract for almost 12 years with CMAS, but we were able to get a better deal, a lower tipping fee from Wheelabrator. And since Attleboro is it's the same distance to Wheelabrator in Worcester, or close to Worcester, than it is down here at Carver, we jumped. We made the jump.
Natick also goes to Millbury,
Millbury.
the waste to energy facility
Another-
there. We pay in the $50 a ton range for
All
a
right,
20-year contract.
I was interested in whether there was an additional cost for going to
No.
waste to energy.
Okay, so none of it goes to landfills. It all goes to different waste to energy.
Thank you.
Okay, next question, please.
Hilda Menge, Precinct 8. I'm very interested in the compostable part of the whole waste cycle and want to know what your experience is with the items that are put in with the compost material that is not compostable, like plastic forks or metal lids or whatever. How do you deal with that?
I'll mention that as long as we're talking about this, DEP in the state of Massachusetts is going to go back to what we did 30, 40 years ago. I started in the health department. There used to be a little garbage, a little flip garbage. It's coming back. All right, the state is looking at composting all food products. At some point, all the recyclables and all the food products are going to be, as she mentioned, 80%. We'll get way over that. You get almost 100% if you get rid of all the garbage. We're going back to the garbage pail, and that will be composted. We compost, it's a passive system. We don't do much with it. We put in big windrolls, maybe 100, 200 feet long, and they're up about 30, 40 feet. We let everybody in, even the contractors. They have to pay a fee, the cheapest fee, I think, in southern New England, to go in there. We let them go in for a minimum amount of money. We get the compost. We don't do too much with it. We turn it twice a year. In that compost, we do not sell it. We give it away to the residents. There is plastic in it. There's a bunch of other stuff in it, but for some reason they use it, and we got some of the nicest gardens in Attleboro, both vegetable and flowers around. So they use it all. 90% of it gets used.
So you don't sift the materials out that...
No, we don't. If we wanted to sell it, we would, but since it's not, we don't sell it, we give it away free, we don't.
Other comments? Josh?
We don't pick up compost, but I know some communities are doing that, and I think that's an interesting program. We do make available through our Public Works Department heavily discounted compost bins, and many residents then do it that way. So we don't, but we don't collect it yet. We do
Maureen,
other-
did you want to add anything?
I'll just say we don't collect it either, but we do sell discounted compost bins. We promote it heavily with programs on our cable TV, and we don't. We only take brush at our DPW.
Okay, next question, please.
My name is Dolores Tauchi,
Okay,
and
speak
I'm
up.
from East Falmouth.
Okay,
I want to make a couple of comments first, if I may.
okay, within 2 minutes.
Okay, 2 minutes. I have a passion for the environment, and I have a curse I cannot go buy litter and leave it there without.
Just speak into the phone.
And I have a passion for the environment because I live here in beautiful Cape Cod, and I have a curse. Every time I go buy litter, I have to either pull my car over on the side of the road, or if I'm walking, I have to pick it up. Now, all I've heard here tonight, and I think the idea of pay as you throw is a very good idea. And I have no problem paying $1.50 or $1.78 for a bag, as long as it's treated and the crows can't get at it. All right, because the crows will get into a bag that isn't treated. That's the first thing. The second thing I've heard here is money, money, money. You know, not everything is solved by the dollar sign. I go through my community on a daily basis and pick up trash. I'm not saying it's from the people that live in the neighborhood. It could be from bicyclists coming through, cars coming through, people throwing out litter, okay? Now, what I'm saying here is, and I'll address this to Maureen. Maureen, you said there was dumping, and you said you solved it. My question is, how did you solve it? Did you put a 24/7 out there? Because well, let me just finish. Excuse me, Maureen. The reason I say that is because the DPW knows me by heart, can recognize my voice. Because when I call, they say, Dolores, where do you want me to pick it up? All right? Because there's mattresses, there's sofa covers, there's broken down beach chairs, you name it. Now, we live in an environment here that I think is much different from Natick, Attleboro, and Rentham. We have renters, we have tourists, okay? I definitely appreciate all your information, and I've taken it all in. But the people that are going to resent the $150 and the $170 per bag are not in this audience tonight. They're not here because they would be here like me, because I care about the environment and I care about my neighborhood. But those people are going to be resentful of paying. So then what happens is they're going to disperse of the trash anywhere and everywhere. Now, you tell me, how do we resolve that if we haven't resolved the litter problem in Falmouth for years? So how does that help the environment and our environment?
Doris, okay, that's the question.
That's
Thank
a separate issue than the solid waste disposal. I've been 35 years in public health. Public health is in charge of rubbish, trash, nuisances, and all sorts of things. Problem is the state law says that if I throw a piece of paper out of my car, $5,000 fine. Okay. Now you ask me in 30. Let me talk. You've talked long enough. I'll give you the answers before you ask the question. You throw the paper out of the car. That's called litter. $5,000 fine. Yeah. Do you know how many times I've been able to fine somebody in 35 years? Zero. You know why? Because the law is the act. The law is the act of throwing. Once the trash hits the ground, it's no longer litter. It's the responsibility of the owner of the ground that the trash is on. If it goes on public land, then it's the city's problem. If it goes on private land, it's the private owner's problem. So you have to be at the right time, right place at the right time in order to find somebody.
That's not going to happen.
That's right. So it's a problem not only for Cape.
And the police department doesn't take it seriously.
No, the police can't do it.
Because that's the last thing on their mind.
Okay.
Can I,
yes,
since
Maureen?
you directed that question to begin with to me, one of the reasons that we were able to stop the inflow of trash from the surrounding towns is because, of course, they dropped it not just randomly. They would drop it in front of somebody's house, putting it with the other trash. Well, as soon as the people in that house had to be accountable for their one barrel, that stopped. And We didn't get any more of that. Occasionally, if we found a bag of trash by the side of the road, which really didn't happen very often, you put on the gloves, you open it up, see who it is, and send the police after them. And we've done that. And we've sent the police to places where people simply will not comply, and they've cleaned up the situation. Litter, Pogo said it. The enemy, you look for the enemy, and it is us, and it's never.
Maureen, I just want to make one last remark. My concern here with this pay-as-you-throw, okay, number one, if we get the contract, how long is the contract for?
Okay.
20 years? All right, let's say. But why don't, in 6 months, if we are having more trash and litter than we had before it started, who's going to help us now? Who's going to solve the problem?
I would bet that does not happen.
Okay.
Oh.
Thank you very much. Could we have the next question, please?
Good evening. I'm Don Mallinson from 746 Carrot Shop Road.
Can you get close to
Don,
the
you could ra-
microphone?
you
I
could raise
realize
the mic if
you're
you want.
taller than it is. Just
Anybody
lift
assist
the whole-
him? Raise that. Yeah,
There we go.
I'm Don Mallinson from 746 Carrot Shop Road in East Falmouth, and put me down as very much in favor of pay to throw. I do have two comments. One is that has anyone considered not a regulation that says if you do not have recycled material on the day of the pickup, your general trash does not get picked up also?
Actually, I can
The
speak to
question
that.
is whether we need that.
Rentham had, prior to our program beginning in 2004, we had a bylaw that said your trash would not be picked up unless you had recycling out. That's useless if nobody is going to enforce it, and we didn't have anybody doing enforcement. Second, it's kind of futile because they could put a bin out with a can in it, and you
Right.
haven't accomplished much.
Josh?
You don't really want your trash around for more than a week, but there's no problem having bins full of recyclables that aren't going to smell. So I may have 5 recycle bins 1 week and then none for a couple. That's just easiest for my lifestyle. I would not be too quick to impose new regulations because you're talking about a pretty big change for the community. It'll take a little while to sort out. So I would, a light touch is better. But
Okay.
I mean, the intent is good, Don.
In Attleboro, I'd say we're probably up close to 94, 98% recycling. So for the minority that, for whatever reasons, chose not to, it's such a small number of people that it isn't worth dealing with regulatory-wise.
I just have one more question directed to Kathy. What do you think that a deposit on plastic containers would have on the recycling and the general trash in the Commonwealth?
Are you talking about beverage containers, plastic? In other words, expanding the bottle bill?
Jim wants to go one
All right. Not so much the bottles. I mean, right now that money's just lost. They pick up the 5% and it all gets recycled, and there's questions of whether we should do that or not. But there's another bill out right now that's in the House and the Senate, and basically what it is it's doing exactly what you just said. And this has to do with the electronics and the white metal. You buy a refrigerator at a store, they pay for the ultimate disposal of it in the cost when you buy it. They add to it. So when it comes time to dispose of it, they pay for it. Right now, a TV in some places costs as much as $30 to get rid of. They've tripled in less than 3 years in costs because of what the components are in them. I'm not talking monitors, but TVs are extremely expensive to get rid of now, and it looks like they're going to keep going up. If the manufacturer, be it Sony, whoever, paid for that disposal when it broke, then the town wouldn't be charged for it, and we wouldn't have any of these things around.
So that's state legislation. Kathy, did you want to add anything?
I think if your question was about expanding the bottle bill, I think that's what you're referring to cover all plastic bottles that aren't currently covered. Yes, the administration fully supports expansion of the bottle bill. We know that the containers that are covered under the existing bottle bill are captured at a rate of about 75%. So we get most of that material back for recycling in one way or another through redemption or through curbside programs. For the bottles that are not covered through the bottle bill, we're only capturing maybe 30 to 40%. So all that value, all that material is going in the trash, which has huge, issues related to the pollution created when you have to generate more virgin plastic, essentially. And we know that they proliferate, these water bottles and these Gatorade bottles, et cetera, proliferate. So there's an immense number of bottles that could be captured through an expansion.
Okay.
A lot of roadside trash.
A lot of trash.
Thank you very much. Okay, our next question, sir.
Cal Rostron, Two Ponds Road. Couple of comments and then the question. We have a lot of friends, some of them that live in your towns, and they think that the bag idea is at best silly. I can't say what some of them said because we're on TV. But all I've heard tonight is bags, 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 bags from everybody that's talked up here. Nobody has said a pure can system. Plastic trash cans that get used year after year after year. You're talking about using something that when it's created, its end use, incineration or landfill, is already in the cards. That to me does not sound very environmentally friendly. We also we back up to the BB Woods. Crows are a big problem, but also raccoons and the neighborhood dogs that are let out to roam because people don't follow the leash law are a real problem unless we really clamp the lids down on the cans. But I guess my comment is this. We moved here 4 years ago from San Mateo County. It's on the San Francisco Peninsula. It had had a pay-as-you-throw for 40 plus years. 40 years I lived there, pay-as-you-throw. Never once did they go to bags, they stayed with cans. The system was administered by Waste Management, the same people that haul your trash away here. They sent the bills out, they knew how many cans you were supposed to put out. If for some reason you were doing a spring cleaning and you wanted to put out 4 cans for that month instead of 1 can, the drivers knew that. And if you put out 2 cans when you were only supposed to have 1, if you did that more than 1 week, you got a nasty note from Waste Management going, you know what, we're going to bill you for those extra cans. They knew how much you were supposed to have, and the drivers were good about keeping tabs with that. They also managed an excellent transfer facility where you could go load your pickup truck, you got charged per a cubic yard, 25 bucks for a cubic yard, you could throw anything away. It was a wonderful program. All the town did was set the rates, Waste Management did the rest. Why don't we look at something like that around here? Why didn't you look at something like that in your communities? Or did you?
Well, we looked at...
Can you speak into the phone, Jim?
We looked at, as I said, in 6 years, we dropped 42% of our solid waste. The only way we could have done that is the way we did it. And we do have a barrel program. We have that 36-gallon barrel, so we are using the barrel week after week after week after week. You're talking about an automated program. The problem with automated programs, we have it with the single-stream recycling. We have these big totals that get picked up. I'm looking at going automated with solid waste. The problem is I don't want the barrels so big that they can fill them up with 100, 200 pounds of recyclables and waste, and they're going to automatically take it. There'll be no checks and balances on this. So maybe 30 years ago they could get away with it in California, but at today's prices for waste and stuff, I'm willing to bet they've got some other system or a way of finding out whether or not people maybe limiting the size of the barrels or doing something. The trucks today, 90% of the ones around here are retrofitted for 64 and 96-gallon barrels. I don't know any that have retrofitted for, the size I want, a small barrel. The smaller the barrel, the more people have to recycle.
Maureen?
I think we use the term bag because when you have to buy it, it is a bag. But in our town, bag is interchangeable with barrel. I mean, people who never buy bags, and that is probably at least 60 to 70% of the town never buys a bag. They stick with the one bag or barrel. Most of them do put out barrels. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just interchangeable in our
But
view.
as you mentioned earlier, it's one barrel and then bags.
Right, but most
what
people
if they
don't
generate,
need
even
more.
though they recycle? We probably generate 2 barrels every week. Every other week, we were putting out at least a dozen recycle containers. We put out so many recycle containers every other week that the waste management guy was grumbling at me. And he finally said, go down and buy a 65-gallon because we can tip those automatically on the side of the truck. We got the lift that'll do it. Instead of me lifting 10 barrels of plastic and glass and metal recyclables, I'll lift one 65-gallon and I'm on my way. So,
Okay,
you
Josh,
know,
did you want to add anything? Yeah.
Just briefly, sir, you really have, I think, asked a good question because it gets to the whole idea of trade-offs. And that's what we have to do in our communities. We have to weigh, sometimes it's a lesser evil thing. I would prefer not to have to use bags. But we have many people, I mean, my household, my wife and I, we will do one small bag every week. Seldom do we do the large bags. Mm-hmm. So we would almost never fill up a large barrel, and I think that's true of many people. And we don't outsource it. We have that in-house. I don't think I talked about this in my remarks, and I want to spend just a minute now. But what we have is, you know, we have a system where we've got these rear-loading packers, and the same fleet is used to throw out the bags. But that fleet also picks up the yard waste a couple times a year and holiday trees, and the same crews. Then they drive our snow plows, and we integrated. You know, we saved enough money that we took 2 separate divisions in Public Works, Highway and Sanitation, and merged them into one. And we went from 5-day trash pickup to 4. So now on Mondays, the same men or women who are picking up the trash, they're doing road repairs or other work. So it's a way to like pull things together. If we were to outsource, we wouldn't have those people there to do snow plowing. We'd have to contract out at triple the price per hour. So it's better. It just works better for us. Those are the trade-offs we made. But I would like to think in the future we are as advanced as San Mateo may be in terms of our consciousness about recycling, and maybe we would use those automated systems with larger things without having the price incentive. But for now, it was a good transition for us. But maybe, decades to come, we'll be there.
Well, I do believe Falmouth's waste is outsourced right now. It's done by Waste Management. It's not done by town
Well,
employees.
actually, it's Republic Allied, and there is a representative here tonight. Kathy, you wanted to...
Sure, one brief comment. I do think that's an important question. I, too, lived in California and San Francisco in the 90s for a number of years, so I'm familiar with some of the programs out there. The roads are wider out there and not as curvy as some of the older roads in New England, and so automated collection of trash and recycling started out there way before it started here. In the past 5 to 10 years, we're seeing more automated collection programs in New England. Mansfield, that's in my district, was one of the first to have automated collection. So now we're looking at ways to how do we couple the idea of automated collection and some of the efficiencies from that with a smaller barrel or a pay-as-you-throw model, whether it's a graduated barrel program or like in San Francisco where you just get a 35-gallon trash cart, you get a 35-gallon single-stream recycling cart, and you get a 35-gallon organics collection cart, period. And it's a very expensive program, I must say, because a certain amount from every ton of trash that's generated in the city that goes to landfill, that goes back into a fund to support these recycling programs. So they have a lot more money to work with, frankly. But I will just say that there are a few communities in Massachusetts that are trying to test some of these new programs. Hamilton and Wenham, north of Boston, are both using, as of April of this year, 35-gallon carts for trash automated collection. Hamilton is being picked up trash is picked up every other week with this cart. On the off week, they can use pay-as-you-throw bags. It's not for everybody, but that's something that's being tried. Wenham is using a 35-gallon trash cart picked up by automated collection every week. I think we're starting to get there.
Okay, our next question.
Nicole Goldman, I'm from Woods Hole, I used to live in Concord, and so my husband, for some reason, still had one of his tags. Yes. Sorry, we have one of his tags from Concord, which was $1.50, which goes on the barrel. And, we moved into Concord in, I don't know, 1990 something. And I just thought it was normal to have the tag for the barrel, and that was a pay-as-you-throw system, and so I'm a little adverse to the idea of a plastic bag, because why are we creating more plastic to throw our trash into our plastic and whatnot? So, is there a reason why this is not a viable system, or? I mean, it works in Concord, but
Kathy?
I can tell you from what we know of communities that use a sticker like that, and when I look at Concord's numbers, they're actually included in the chart that I did for tonight. Their trash is quite a bit higher than some of the communities that use bags.
Well,
And what happens is it doesn't define the capacity as well as the bag does, frankly, because people use different size barrels. So for that $1.50, you might have a 30-gallon barrel. Someone else might have a 36-gallon barrel.
Well, if you regulate the size of the barrel, and yes, they would tag us if we overloaded
Right.
it or if we did it
Right.
wrong. They would tag us, just like like Jim said in Attleboro. So there is a correction system.
Potentially, though the
Yeah.
communities I've worked with, my office is in Taunton, they used to have a sticker program, and there was a lot of fraud associated with the program. So sometimes the driver wouldn't take the tag off of the barrel handle, or you'd see a tag ripped in half and stuck on the top of a bag, and the driver just took it because they're not going to pull it apart and look to make sure it's a full tag. There was more opportunity for fraud. When they went from a sticker program to a bag program, their trash went down 23% because
Okay, so is
everyone
that-
for that $1 got the same capacity. I know the idea of suggesting that people buy special bags feels like a kind of a hard pill to swallow, frankly, but the bottom line is that we don't want loose trash no matter what we do. So everyone is going to bag it in some way. So if you buy the official bag as opposed to the store bag, the hefty bag, whatever it might be,
Is there another alternative to a plastic bag?
It's
a graduated barrel program of some kind, but those
a
are still
paper bag?
a paper bag.
No.
That wouldn't hold. It would have to be dry.
Josh?
Most
Compostable bag?
people, when I put my trash out in barrels in the days before pay-as-you-throw, it was in a bag inside a barrel. So, I mean, I didn't use more plastic bags.
Right. I mean, I
then,
use
so-
compostable bags made of corn to go in the barrel.
But if it's going to go get burned up in the incinerator anyway,
It's
so
compostable, biocompostable. It's made of corn, so I mean.
but it's not going to get composted. It's going
No,
to
it's
be burned
but
up.
it's going to degrade. Yeah.
This is one of those trade-offs.
I'm
Okay.
asking for a reason. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Our next, and I don't know whether you'll need some help if you lean down the microphone. Okay.
Thank you. I'm Bertha Manson, and I live on Pershing Drive, and I have a daycare next door to me.
A daycare next door to you.
Yep.
Okay.
And I mean, that's our big problem. Our big problem is the trash goes from one end of the place
I'll
to
repeat.
the other end.
Okay, are you saying that the trash from the daycare center ends up at your location? So how would you?
I'm just wondering if there's a better way of, if you're going to have a daycare next door on a residential street, there has to be a better way than picking up trash. Because I spend half time picking up her trash from my house.
Okay. Well,
Well, I would go to the local public health department and file a complaint. I mean, you don't know how many complaints we have a year in Attleboro. Thousands on trash. It was brought up earlier.
I don't mind the daycare. I mind the fact that her trash is overloaded. The trash is going from one end of the
But
house,
that's-
and it's a Falmouth. It's
But
a
that-
Falmouth daycare.
What it is that's a violation,
Yeah.
okay? So the Board of Health will go there and say, listen, you can't overflow those barrels, or you can't have any trash come out of the barrel. If you do, you will be fined.
Mm-hmm.
Now, hopefully they'll get it and they'll take care of it. Usually we don't find the first time. We explain the way it is and what the problem is, and if it's a problem, we tell them we could come back and hit you with a violation if it happens again.
And
That
als-
usually takes
yeah.
care of it.
Also, can we get a lower bid on our trash pickup?
can we get a lower bid on our trash pickup? Well, that's a question that these folks can't really answer.
No, I'm asking you.
Oh, well, I can't answer that
You
either.
can't give me a straight answer.
Not at the moment.
And are most of the towns that are here tonight, are they running into the same situation we're running into with the year-rounders and the 6-monthers?
Any comments?
No, no.
No, but boy, you've got plenty of smarts to figure out Falmouth's problems. Falmouth has solved many challenges. This will not be the biggest one you ever deal with. You'll just get together and talk about it and figure out what's right for Falmouth. I have no doubt.
Thank you very much. Okay, next question, please.
Hi, Bob Donahue, Precinct 3. My question is, in recycling, do any of your towns make any money on it? I've come from a town in my past which was very heavily into recycling, and they got to the point where they were actually making money so that they could afford to hire staff, and it became quite an operation. It did take quite a few years to build that up, but
I can answer that. The
Okay, are your communities making?
Before he does, could I ask what happens with the recycling right now in Falmouth?
to be honest with you, I think it's just thrown away, or I don't
Right, but
think
what does-
Falmouth.
No,
I don't
no.
think Falmouth makes any money on it. I don't see any credits anywhere for recycling. We pay $650,000 for the charge of the truck driving around every 2 weeks to pick it up, but I never see, for all the stuff they picked up, that we got $2.50 back.
Right, Republic Allied owns the recyclables once they pick them up. There is no revenue to the town. Jim?
Our contract with another firm allows us, in the recycling system, there's a price set on a daily basis for a number of recyclables, whether it's paper or plastic or whatever. And the way our contract states that if the recyclables go above a certain figure, the city will share 50% of that money. Now, we get the tonnage figures, we get what those commodities are, and we look on a daily basis to see what the price is that they're getting for recyclables. Paper is a great money. Cardboard, I told you, we have one person that we're hiring doing our own cardboard. But the other commodities haven't got there yet. And in a good economy, you get a lot of money. People demanding paper all over the world. China was one of our biggest exporters. Well, the economies start hurting. They don't use as much paper. They don't use as much packaging. The amount of paper goes down, the price goes down, and you get this stuff building up, and there's no price in it. So it depends on the economy and a lot of other factors. But you can, as a town, request in your proposal that you want to share a profit sharing of certain commodities. Paper being one of the biggest ones, paper and cardboard. And if the company wants to give you the price, they'll meet it.
Number two.
Maureen? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Quick number two. On appliances, TVs, refrigerators, etc. Is this something, could you each one ask, is this something your town does for free, or is there some kind of a charge mechanism to pick them up?
Okay, Maureen, since it's front of you.
Okay, on appliances and on recyclables. Recyclables we do not share any of the income, but we do not pay for any of the disposal. We pay for pickup, but we don't pay for anything else. So as he said, when the market is down, it costs them money. On the metals and appliances, again, we pay only for the pickup. We don't pay for any of the disposal.
So I want to answer your first question and then your second. The first one, Natick has a recycling center, so that while it's open now, it's going to be open 3 days a week. It was 2 until recently. So anyone that can bring the recycling there, and then the town actually does sell that, and sometimes we make a little coin at it. The same center also is a place where you can bring paint, and motor oil and batteries and compact fluorescent bulbs. So it's a good resource to have. In fact, there's yard waste and brush. So I don't know what you've got in Falmouth that's like that, but I would definitely consider that. Wellesley has a model recycling center. They make a lot of coin, and we'd love to partner with them, but they're happy without us. But maybe there's an opportunity to get together with some other towns. And then the second thing is we also have the bulky waste pickup service, nominal charge, probably the best value in Natick, and it's partially subsidized because we use the same trucks and men and women, but that's where we pick up appliances and tires and whatnot. So, and that stuff gets usually brought to a recycling place in Framingham, the next town over.
What do people call and say, I have a refrigerator at 100
Yeah, they
Washington
can download
Street.
a form or bring it to the DPW, and then every other Monday or so we schedule pickups. And, for
And
50
there
bucks
is
you
a
get a lot.
moderate charge for that?
It is a lot less than 1-800-GOT-JUNK, I'll tell you that.
Okay.
So it's a great value.
Jim?
In Attleboro, we pick up Thursdays and Fridays every week. It is you call the company, it's a separate company from our rubbish company. You call that company on a Tuesday at 12 o'clock, and your appliance will be picked up either Thursday or Friday. There's no additional charge for that. The flat fee you pay, whether you put out one appliance or 100 appliances, there's no additional charge. The only thing we do, we got incorporated last year, was for TVs. Everybody's buying new TVs, getting rid of all the old ones, and these things are getting out of the world. So what we did was, we started looking at see how many TVs to get picked. Some people, residences, got 20 TVs, 30 TVs. Some people are taking the TVs and taking the gold and silver out of them, and then they're putting them out in the curb. We couldn't afford that. So what we did is we put a rule in, 2 TVs a year. All right, no charge. But we want a sticker. We want you to come and get a sticker and put 2 TVs on. Right now it's June. People that haven't got their 2 stickers are going to pick up 2 now, and come July 1st, they'll get 2 more, so they could have 4. But at some point, you got to believe everybody can't be getting rid of 2 TVs every year. So at some point, it's got to even out.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Next question, please.
Yes, thank you. Richard Pryor, Clipper Lane, Falmouth. Thank you for coming, folks. Just a quick question. For your business owners in your towns, do they have any problems with people using their dumpsters to avoid fees?
We recommend that they put locks on them, but even the public works dumpsters, the city dumpsters all over the city, at the recreation fields and every place else, people get into those all the time. They even chop the locks. So they're continuously, it's a problem. I don't know how much money it's costing the city, but it's a problem. In Attleboro 2 years ago, we started a recycling program for all businesses in the city. Right now, the businesses in the city are recycling 98% of the time, just like the residences are. They all have recycling bins, to put the recyclables in, and they've got trash. What happens is their rubbish costs went down because they don't use as much bins or need it emptied as much, and the recycling costs sort of broke even. So whatever they were paying before they started recycling, they're paying the same thing right now. But yeah, it is a problem. But you put a lock on it, but they'll find ways to get at it.
The problem with a lock, from what I understand, is, with tenants, if you have apartments or whatever, that they all have to have a key, number one. They're not going to lock it. And when you have to be there when the guy shows up to unload it, because he doesn't want to get out of the truck.
It's a problem. It's a problem for private sectors. It's also a problem for cities and towns all over the state.
Oh, thank you for coming. Maureen, say hi to Scott Brown. Thank you.
It's a side effect. It happens, and more so when you start charging for it. You do need to have a plan in place to address it. Sometimes our health department will be in touch with repeat offenders. Give them a phone call, and then it usually stops. I mean, my barber no longer throws trash in my landlord's dumpster.
Well, I have a dumpster too, and I've been tempted to go into the trash and get the addresses, and put it back on their lawn.
Right. That's another way of doing
it. Crime does not pay.
All right. Next question, please.
Hello, I hope it's okay for me to ask a question. My name is Richard Elrick. I'm a resident of Barnstable.
Certainly.
And we are also looking to develop a curbside pay-as-you-throw program in the town. And I had a question about whether or not there's an optional component to these programs. My understanding is if it's a fee-based or user fee-based program that's fully funded by the residents who use the program, that it has to be optional. Could you just address that at all?
Well, what we did in Attleboro. When Attleboro took it over in 1990 from Public Works, in the first month that we took over the problem, what we found out is there was over $30,000 of rubbish fees not being billed to people. For some reason, Public Works no longer billed these people. They'd come in and say, oh, we're going to get a private dumpster, and we don't want the trash fee anymore. They'd never get the private dumpster. They still put the trash out. So we found $32,000 in the first year. What that did was it encouraged us, you have water, and you have sewer, people that are on public sewer. You pay those bills. Automatically get charged a minimum rate. We did the same thing with rubbish. Everyone in the city gets a rubbish bill. They get a water bill. Some get a sewer bill. Some people on septic don't. But they get a water bill and they get a rubbish bill. If they're not using our system, and they get an abatement, but they have to come to the health department, show us that they have a contract with a rubbish hauler, not only for solid waste, but also for recyclables. If they do that, then we'll give them an abatement. It's quarterly, so every 3 months we give them abatement and take the fee off. But that's how we work it in Attleboro.